This is the state of the nation. Ibifa Muganga. We are deliberate, we are reasonable, we are uncensored. The state of the nation with Henry Salah.
All right. Good day, good evening, good morning, good evening, good night. Depending on where you are watching us from, this is the state of the nation, and we are going to start shortly. Of course, we are going to be interrogating three important issues. As you know, we are going to examine the virtual vetting, and why there was a postponement of the Minister of Education, as she requested to be vetted virtually. Of course, we are also going to interrogate Dr. Muganga's dual or triple citizenship, as it has been a very controversial political story this week. We are also going to interrogate the State of the Nation address that was delivered by President Museveni this week. Of course, many are asking similar questions. Many want to engage in these discussions separately. I think they lead us to the same question, pretty much. Can Uganda's institutions adapt to globalized, digital, and interconnected world? Or are we just trying to solve 21st century problems using 20th century assumptions? Of course, with me today are four very distinguished panelists. Council Isaac Semakade, the president of Uganda Law Society, Dr. Stella Nyanzi. She's also joining us. She's a researcher, she's a writer, she's also a social justice activist. Dr. David Imbara, or Professor David Imbara, is also joining us today. Professor Imbara is a Canadian of Rwandese descent, but also lived in Uganda and understands Ugandan politics very well. So he will also be offering some of his aspects of how he sees these things that are happening in Uganda. And of course, we know Ronald Leonard Egesa, political and business consultant and strategist, is also going to be joining us tonight. Excited to see at least the first two. Dr. Stella is here, and of course, Dr. Egesa. I tend to want to call you Dr. Egesa. Maybe you should go back for your PhD as soon as you get.
I am about to defend.
Oh, you're about to. Oh, there you go. So, all right. Thank you so much for joining us today. Before we delve into the conversation, of course, Professor Imbala is struggling to get in, which is okay. Technology sometimes can be challenging. You can see that we started a little bit late because I indicated 11 p.m. instead of 11 a.m. And when I say 11, I mean 11 Canadian time, Toronto time. So the system was questioning me whether we are supposed to start now or later, until I figured that out. And here we are. A few things that I need us to remember for the folks who are wondering if you can go to Uganda. Yes, you still can go to Uganda now. It's not, people can still go to Uganda. Don't be afraid of Ebola. I mean, people are talking about, they're talking about Ebola, and some governments in the West have deterred their folks from coming to Uganda. Canada, for instance, has put a stoppage on processing any kind of papers that for folks who are coming here, whether they're coming as students or permanent residents or even visitors. They have put it to a stop for at least 3 months. So they won't be they won't be processing those papers until after August 29th. I know the US put at least a month as they continue to monitor and figure out what is going on in Uganda. Some folks who are organizing events, for example, the Rengori Marathon is still happening. Rengori Marathon is still happening, so I'm going to share that a little bit. This is happening in August. For those people who know Mr. Wekesa, reach out to him. The Renzori Marathon is still happening. So don't give up on Uganda. The international community, please continue to support the country and the business.
On a lighter note, I don't know if you know that the name Egesa and Wekesa is the same.
Is it the same?
It's the same name. I could actually have been called Wekesa, even in my my tribe, because the Samias and Gishus are basically the same tribe. Only that for us, we ran away from circumcision, and but it
you don't want to be circumcised. Oh my goodness! We shall hear what Dr. Stella has to say about that. But yeah, so that's what's up for now. In the meantime, I'm going to ask both of you to introduce yourselves. Professor Imbara is still struggling to get in. I've heard from Council Semakade. He has also indicated to me that he is the one babysitting tonight, and the child is still has not yet gone to sleep. So he will come in as soon as the child is has gone to sleep. But in the meantime, we are going to start with the folks in the room. And of course, we are going to start with Dr. Stella. Introduce yourself and what you think about the event. Actually, let me start with the guests, and then I'll come back to you, give you the opportunity to tell us what you have been up to and what you see about what's going on in Uganda. So, Mr. Wekesa or Egesa, whichever you prefer. We have lost you. Oh, you're muted, my brother. You're muted.
Sorry. Thank you very much, Henry, for organizing and hosting this conversation. My greetings to Dr. Stella Nyanzi. I am, I guess, Ronald Leonard. I'm a political and business strategist. I think that's what I'm going to say for now. We have been discussing these things about the political developments in Uganda, the direction that the country seems to be taking, and I'm happy to always come back to the public square to have a conversation on the same. Yeah, so like you mentioned in the topics that we're going to talk about tonight, I have had strong opinions on these topics, and I am eager to talk about them. Thank you. Yeah.
Great. Thank you so much again. Egesa, Wekesa is not circumcised. Dr. Stella.
Hi, Henry. Sally, thanks for inviting me. I used to attend the State of the Nation address long time ago. I think we were together 2020, 2021.
Yes.
Maybe 2022 as well. And then somehow life happened and we stopped meeting weekly. But it's a pleasure to return. I often listen to you and Egesa, you and Ivan Semakade. And I think for me as a Ugandan living in exile, it's wonderful to have an opportunity to just tap into what's happening on the ground, listen to people, especially critical minds who question and interrogate and don't take the dominant narrative as gospel truth. So your spaces have been some of those that I tap into. And Mukulu, I guess I've been following you. I follow you. Now there are all these YouTube channels that sort of replay and reproduce what you say. So I've been following the debate, particularly about Dr. Muganga, listening to you and listening to others of like minds, many who contradict what you say and so forth. I think for me, it's interesting that Henry is availing an opportunity to just talk together as Ugandans in the country and outside the country who are really interested in engaging with Uganda. So yeah, I'm an anthropologist, currently living in Germany, although I'm a Ugandan citizen.
Nice to have you. Welcome back to the State of the Nation. Last weekend, I guess, suggested that we should call ourselves the good natives. A total paradox of the bad natives, so that we can interact some of those conversations that are shared within the bad natives ecosystem. We are still the State of the Nation. We shall see how we unfold into something else. So Dr. David Imbala is here as well. As I've told you, Dr. Imbala is a Canadian citizen of Rwandan descent, but someone who has also lived in Uganda and understands not just African politics, but the global politics. Professor Imbala, if you would like to introduce yourself before we delve into the conversation. You just missed the introduction of Mr. Ronald Leonard Egesa and Dr. Stella Nyanzi, who have, I think you have heard a little bit of Dr. Stella Nyanzi. So we just want to hear from you and your little thoughts, a little bit of what's happening on the political landscape in Africa, but specifically on the conversations that are unfolding in Uganda's political ecosystem.
Thank you so much for the introduction. It's my pleasure. I'm familiar with Nyanzi for sure. I'm honored to participate in the discussion with you. So I'm Himbara, a Rwandan Canadian, born in Rwanda, became a child refugee in Uganda. Left Uganda as a teenager, went to Canada where I did all my education. After finishing my education, after completing my education, I moved to South Africa. And from South Africa, I went back to Rwanda. I worked for the government of Rwanda twice. The first session, I was the principal private secretary to President Paul Kagame, which I after 2 years, I left, went back to South Africa. I was invited back to Rwanda, where I headed the strategy and policy office of the president, and was also chairperson of the Rwandan Development Board. But in 2010, I fled Rwanda for good. After witnessing that year was horrendous. Leaders of media, political parties, prominent business people, they were imprisoned, disappeared, or even died. So I fled back to South Africa. But I fled South Africa too because a number of Rwandan refugee exiles in South Africa were also being targeted.
Right.
Patrick Karegeya was assassinated. Kayumba Nyamwasa, the former military general, chief of staff, survived assassination. So it was not good for me anymore. So I came back to Canada. That's why I write things about African economic development. I follow Uganda very closely. Yeah, so that's who I am. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Imbara, for that introduction. As I said earlier, Council Semakade is supposed to be with us, but he's still taking the child to bed. Whenever the child has been fully tucked in, he will join us. But of course, Council Semakade is the president of the Uganda Law Society, and in the last couple of years, he has led the organization from the diaspora, which means he has been doing a lot of his work virtually. So let us start with the controversial with the controversy surrounding virtual vetting. We know that the Minister of Education, who is also the First Lady, requested the First Lady of Uganda requested to appear before the parliamentary committee virtually. Of course, the appointments committee declined, and they postponed the process whenever she's ready to appear in person. Of course, many Ugandans immediately have developed divided either assumptions or ideas of what should have happened. Of course, predominantly have two camps. One is arguing accountability, and they say that for accountability, she needs to appear in person. Others are saying that no, technology is available and should be utilized precisely because that's the reason why we have new technologies coming in, and we should be able to utilize them. So here the central question is whether in an era of digital governance, Uganda should fear virtual accountability and leverage. Should Uganda be fear? Should Ugandans be afraid of new technologies, or should they embrace it and utilize it as a governance structure within the Ugandan ecosystem, governance ecosystem? So I'm going to start with you, Professor Mbala. And I'm starting with you because I'm hoping that you're going to offer a holistic ground for the folks in the room to unpack that decision regarding whether we should embrace whether the means of education is right, or if the parliamentary committee is overreaching its power. So I guess what I need to ask you is, could rejecting virtual vetting discourage innovation across the public sector? That's the question I want us to start with. Dr. Mbala. How do yeah. I'm sorry?
I think I should come in last because I'm not really familiar with Uganda.
In that aspect, okay.
In that,
yes. Why don't you answer that question?
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I think when you frame the question the way you framed it, you are trying to create an escape route for the situation that is obtaining.
No. I'm not.
Because you see,
what I'm doing,
you are cornering us into discussing something that is not supposed to be the one we should be discussing. Though it is this, you see, the question is, will the First Lady appear in Parliament, which is just 200 meters away from State Lodge Nakasero, where the First Lady stays?
Okay, let me change the question.
That is the question at hand. But to talk about vetting on Zoom, I mean, okay.
Just a moment, Mr. Gessa. The reason why I framed the question like the way I did earlier is because I'm trying to escape from the idea of examining these issues based on individual personalities. I'm trying to, I guess what I want us to do is try and interrogate some of these issues institutionally or structurally, right?
But it is individuals who mess up institutions. You see, what the conversation I want to bring up, is
of
that
course it's individuals, but like let me
first,
finish. Let me finish a little bit before you come in, because I know you're very brilliant. You're going to be able to completely mess me up. So one of the reasons I wanted Somakade to be on this platform is because he has governed Uganda Law Society virtually. He has conducted annual general meetings virtually. So I guess the other question could be that if courts or universities or hospitals, because I know people are making defenses on via Zoom, via Teams, right? So if courts, if universities, if hospitals, or even some government meetings are increasingly utilizing digital technology, why should Parliament be different? Why should it be different when it comes to Mrs. Museveni being vetted? Yeah.
All right. So nobody is. I mean, you know very well that I am an investor in technology. I am actively running tech companies. I do actually run my business as well virtually at times. I have been a strategic partner of the Uganda Law Society in promoting digital transformation, their digital transformation agenda. But the discussion in the Parliament Appointments Committee is other than the one you are raising. Yeah, the discussion on Zoom is about accountability. These people are not questioning whether a nominee can appear for vetting via Zoom. That is, if the law does not prohibit it or not. The reason why some members were opposed to it, and specifically, I think I heard about Joel Senyonyi, the Honorable Joel Senyonyi, who is the leader of opposition. The reason they are opposed is because it's a question of accountability. They are saying they are not sure that the First Lady has been actually even going to the Minister of Education. Right. So you cannot say that you were appointed, because this is not a new appointee in cabinet. So for the last 10 years, she has been Minister of Education. And these people are asking, does she actually appear there? That is why I think they were insisting she should appear in person and then face the committee. They could also be having other misgivings on the credentials of the First Lady. I don't know. But we have had some members bringing up these things. However, for me, I would agree with them on the First Lady being able to answer as to why she maintains. She feels it's important for her to be in cabinet when she already has the position of First Lady. The position of First Lady is already an influential position. You cannot tell me that you can fail to push any policy through. So by getting somebody who is already in a privileged position as First Lady to occupy the position of Minister in charge of Education or any other ministry for that matter, that would actually be one of the ways to kill institutions. Yeah, we are suffocating this institution. I have been to that Ministry of Education, and all the programs of other people that the technocrats that are working in that ministry are tampered with, because unlike what she's saying, what she's asking for during vetting, is not what she does in practice. In practice, she does not, as in run the ministry virtually. The people carry themselves to State Lodge or State House.
Right.
Yeah? I think these are the questions of accountability that the members of Parliament want to ask about. So you find that in the Ministry of Education, 2 to 3 hours of a technocrat's day will be wasted in preparing to move to State House to meet Mama. They actually call her Mama. Yeah? So I think it is fair for members of Parliament to be insistent that the First Lady should appear in Parliament. Parliament is barely 300 meters from State Lodge in Akasero. We all know that.
Are you suggesting that by the First Lady requesting to be vetted via Zoom, she's not being accountable?
No. We have only had rumors about the First Lady not being in good health. We have not had any official we have not had any official communication from the government, nor from from State House or the presidency, telling us about the ill health or the bad health of the First Lady. So
Yeah, okay.
it would be perfectly understandable if this was communicated and Parliament would consider, and I think me and other Ugandans would be considerate and would be understanding and say, look, the Parliamentary Appointments Committee should vet her via Zoom, virtually.
Yeah.
But there is a cloud of secrecy around the health of the First Lady. And part of the reason why people have to be vetted is also to see whether they are in the right state of health and the right state of mind to discharge duties of a cabinet minister. So it is in order for the members of Parliament to demand that our First Lady either gives the proper reasons why she wants to be vetted virtually, okay, or appears in person. So I think it is the State House people, the people in the presidency and the government at large are not being honest with Ugandans or straightforward with Ugandans. They're not being transparent. They should be transparent. It is normal, including the president. The president is a mortal person. The First Lady is a mortal human being. We all have moments where we can have ill health. Okay, they can come out and say that the First Lady is not in good health, but there is a cloud of secrecy which allows rumors to spread, and now rumors are doing more damage than if government had given us a proper position about the health of the First Lady. So I think that's what we need to address.
But she could argue.
So it's a question of transparency.
I guess she could argue that in an era of Ebola and in an era where she hasn't been feeling well, as you have rightly indicated, then it justifies her request to appear for vetting via Zoom or any other virtual means.
My point is, before putting in a request to appear virtually for vetting, let us first get to know what is the health status and physical fitness of the First Lady. Ugandans deserve to know what the physical fitness and health status of the cabinet nominee for the Minister of Education is. That is part of transparency in government. So our institutions cannot function if we are not being transparent. So the presidency and the government must be transparent to Parliament. And then, of course,
you know what you are doing, Mr. Gesa, is that you are articulating what should be done. But these are not things that have been articulated by the vetting committee. Right?
No, the vetting committee is simply saying no. Let her appear here. It is now up to her to come out.
I think similar to what similar to what you are demanding of the First Lady. I think the committee should also articulate these issues the way you're articulating them right now, because when you look at the public discourse, these are not the articulations that were offered either by the leader of opposition or other members of the committee who attended the vetting session. But I'll come back to you on that issue. I wonder what Dr. Stella Nyanzi feels about this. Dr. Stella, do you think Parliament would have reacted differently if an individual involved belonged to a different political faction? For instance, if an appointment was given to someone in the opposition, or even I don't know if Honorable Mao is opposition, but he's the one who is masquerading as an opposition in government. So if Honorable Mao had requested to be vetted via Zoom, do you think the reactions would have been similar to what the reactions are with the First Lady right now?
Right. So I think in terms of listening to what Egesa has said, I want to say that for me, very similar to him, the question around Zoom and our ability as Ugandans to use the internet is not the most important question. I mean, in terms of capacity and ability to be digital savvy, we posture as a country that has made advances in terms of digitalization. I think the main questions for me are really around responsibility of the first family Yoweri Museveni, his wife and children and their relatives, to the Ugandan people. So there are questions around nepotism and family rule. If I were on the vetting committee, I would have wanted to know the criteria that were used to appoint family members for decades as cabinet ministers in Uganda. As a member of the Ugandan women's movement, I have consistently questioned the issue of women who exchange sex for position. Did Janet Museveni qualify for the position because she slept her way into the ministry? If it is not sex for position, sex for marks in university, sex for hire, sex for employment, what is it? What were the criteria that continue to make her a candidate who is worthy to be Minister of Education? She was Minister of Karamoja before that. So the question of family rule has to come before the question of whether we are tech savvy and whether she can appear via Zoom or not. Secondly, for me, the question of the posturing that is happening within our institutions. What is Parliament even doing when we invite them to vet the First Lady? What pretension is that? What mimicry, what mockery, what fuckery is that? Why are we pretending to have viable institutions that can question the authority of a military authoritarian, corrupt octogenarian? What is Parliament even doing? What are these processes? Why are we whitewashing Uganda's institutions? What ability does the parliamentary committee have? What capacity do they have to question an appointment by dictator Yoweri Museveni of his wife, one among many other wives, you know? And I think for me that this parody, this caricature, this pretense, this farcical performance of a particular form of governance is what has put Uganda in dire straits in terms of our governance, right? The third question, I think, for me then is the question about whether Janet Kataha Museveni is alive. There have been questions about whether she died in Uganda, died in Buya military barracks, died in America, died in Germany, whether she's in a fridge. Janet Kataha Museveni has not been seen at any public function since about 3 months ago. She did not appear at her husband's inauguration ceremony. She did not appear when there was a family function. I think one of their grandchildren had a wedding and the family members were all there. Apart from her, she hasn't appeared in Parliament. She cannot appear. Is she alive? Is she dead? And we know that a number of Ugandans who've been vocal about this issue, about her life, whether she's in a freezer waiting to be buried after the official ceremonies, pretending about legitimizing an illegitimate dictator for another 5 years in power. There are questions about her status. So even before we question her ability to appear on Zoom, is Janet Kataha Museveni alive? Is she in a freezer? Has she been dead for a long time? Is she indeed hospitalized? Is she mentally sick? Has she had another relapse of whatever health conditions she has? And I think for me that these are the important questions that come to the fore when a few brave members of the parliamentary committee that is doing the vetting insist that she appears in person. There are questions that Ugandans must ask. Those of us who are outside the country can bravely stand on our feet and say, show us where she is. How can we have a dead minister of education?
Well,
Uganda is dead and dying, and they want to give us a dead minister of education? Supposing she's alive, we pray she's alive. What is her status? Is she mentally well? How can we have a mentally sick minister of education? The madness within the
but I think those are things that you can
and
evaluate.
another 5 years of a mentally sick Minister of Education. Let's say she's mentally sound, and it's questions around her health. In terms of vetting, I would want to hear about her health, but lastly, I would also want to hear about her education qualifications to be a minister of education, because as we've been saying for a long time, Janet Kataha Museveni does not have the academic qualifications to be a minister of education. She never studied her O-levels. She never studied her A-levels. She is an S2 dropout who somehow managed to get her way into a university degree, even when she did not study at Makerere University. We have put this on the record. We have questioned her. People such as Professor or Dr. Tanga Odoi were rewarded the political office they have because they, in fact, enabled her to get the university degree that she obtained from Makerere University. She posters around with a master's degree. She posters around as having a bachelor's degree. She lacks A-level qualifications. She lacks O-level qualifications. So if I were part of the people interrogating her and vetting her, I would want to know, what are her education criteria? How did she get into Makerere? If she did not, in fact, slip her way into the Ministry of Education, if she is not dead, if she's not mad, mentally ill, if she is healthy, what are her education criteria that qualify her for that position? So I think for me, before we talk about Zoom and appearing on Zoom and the digital greed in Uganda, there are some important questions that we must bring to the table without fear or favor for any of those people who are vetted by our parliamentary committee. Thank you, Henry.
These are very, very, very interesting conversations. Well, I guess the idea that she's not alive can be demystified by the fact that she requested to appear on Zooms. I think we shall assume that she's alive.
Did she?
Right?
Did she? If indeed she requested to appear in person, let her appear in public. There has been a cry among some of us that we just want to see her.
She requested to appear on Zoom, not in person, sorry.
Well, we want to see her in person. We want to see her physically. Because in the AI generation...
In the alternative, she can host a press conference at State House.
Can she host a virtual press conference?
Not for vetting.
Yes. No, not for vetting, but just to show people that she's alive. Yeah, let her address a press conference at State House, and people know that she's alive. Then put in her request. Yeah, so people want to know whether she's in good health. If she's not in good health, they should communicate and defer the vetting exercise if the law allows them.
Let us give Dr. Imbara an opportunity to share any thoughts. Given what you have heard so far from the two panelists, what are your thoughts regarding this? Of course, you've heard that many Ugandans are worried about the First Lady's health, but also others are questioning about the other different legitimacies, whether she's qualified to be Minister of Education, whether she is alive right now, and if we should even be discussing the idea of vetting virtually or as opposed to vetting in person. Your thoughts, Dr. Imbar?
Oh, I think Dr. Nyanzi just powerfully stated the case that and the challenges facing Uganda. But in simple terms, how do you vet somebody who has not appeared in the public for 3 months? It's as simple as that. I don't really have much to say beyond that.
Well, the virtual vetting debate asks one question. It asks whether one should be allowed to participate in governance. But there's also the citizenship debate, which asks who belongs in these spaces. So Uganda legally recognizes dual citizenship. Yet whenever a prominent figure holds another citizenship, some sort of controversy erupts. So why is that? And this is important because we have seen what has happened the last week. Of course, from the vetting processes to now the evaluation of who belongs in these spaces, who deserves to serve. It is about how Uganda understands citizenship, really. And I think here the central question is, in an era of globalization, should Uganda fear dual citizenship or leverage it as a strategic national asset, right? So, Dr. Mbara, before you go, if I set you free, what are your thoughts about citizenship? You have told us that you were born in Rwanda. Of course, you lived in Uganda as a refugee. Eventually, you migrated to Canada where you studied, but then went back and served in the Rwandan government. So, in the process of serving in the Rwandan government, did you abandon your Canadian citizenship? What are your thoughts? Is Uganda wasting one of its greatest strategic resource, the global talent network?
Let me put it this way. Even though we label these regimes, Rwanda and Uganda, as basically dictatorships, there is a difference even among dictatorships. In Rwanda, there is no pretense of any kind as regards to the law. The law is the president. The president heads the executive. He's in total control of parliament. Is in control of the judiciary. So what he says goes. Parliament in Rwanda, basically in Rwanda, the president appoints Speaker of Parliament, the president of the Senate, and Chief Justice, and of course ministers. He hires and dismisses them. This is in the Rwandan constitution. This is not the situation in Uganda. In Uganda, there is some kind of semblance of the rule of law. It may not be deep, but nonetheless it's there. So there is this, a pretense of normality, where indeed Parliament plays its role. By the way, in Rwanda, let me put this way: in Parliament, to be members of Parliament also in Rwanda are not elected by the population. These are political party lists that nominate members, and the Rwandan RPF controls. Here is a president who wins elections by 99.9%, and he installs those other individuals and removes them. So Uganda, as I said, there is some kind of there is something called parliament. There are people that are elected by the people of Uganda. That is not our case. So when you say in Rwanda, I went back to Rwanda and became and Canadian citizenship, la 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 la, that is completely irrelevant. He invited me and gave me a post.
Right.
No one did any vetting. Who? No. He appoints and fires across the board. As simple as that. Thank you.
Dr. Gesa, your thoughts on that issue, the issue of citizenship. Why do you think? Well, I guess I should question if.
The debate in Uganda is not about citizenship.
Well, the thing, it's not about citizenship because
Yeah,
I want to relate,
when you go that way,
yeah.
I have called it a voodoo culture.
Yeah.
There are people. I just called out Professor Bariamureva when he posted and tried to tell us stories about the Ugandanness of Dr. Muganga. That is not the question at hand. The Ugandans are not debating citizenship. They are not debating dual citizenship.
Well, beyond,
that was already handled.
Dr. Muganga,
You see, at the moment, when you say dual citizenship is being discussed right now, you see, it has come up as a result of people who have an integrity deficit. I have mentioned that there are 4 people, 3 gentlemen and 1 lady, who are cabinet nominees but have an integrity deficit. These people knew very well that they are barred by Ugandan law, as it were, to be in cabinet.
Ministers, yeah.
But after the president nominated them, they did not do the decent thing to turn down the nomination on account of being dual citizens. So they have dragged the country into the gutter to begin discussing whether or not they are Ugandans. That is not the discussion that we should be discussing. What we are discussing is a very simple matter. Do you qualify to be in cabinet, yes or no? Do you meet all the qualifications? There are several qualifications. One of the qualifications for you to be a member of cabinet or to serve as minister is that you must meet all the qualifications to be member of parliament.
Yeah,
then
so
number 2, number 2, you must not be a dual citizen. now, when you see, when you framed your question, I'm holding you by your own words. When you framed your question that should Ugandans embrace dual citizenship in an era of globalization, you are trying to claim that dual citizens are not performing in Uganda. Dr. Muganga himself has been an academic. He has been a vice chancellor of a university till today. Yeah, so he's contributing to Uganda's education sector. The issue here is they are saying, much as you are good, you could contribute. He even organized battles between musicians, so he's also contributing to entertainment. Yeah, so he's a very innovative person, granted. But what we are discussing right now is the Ugandan law as it was passed by Parliament and in conformity with the provisions of the Constitution, bars people who hold dual citizenship from being members of cabinet. That is the actual issue that we are debating at hand. And we are saying we have only been pulled into this debate because we have 3 men and 1 woman who have an integrity problem. They just needed to write to the president and the general public and say it was good that the president found us worthy to be members of cabinet. However, there is a small problem. We are not able to be to proceed to vetting because we hold dual citizenship. That is all. So now, if we begin discussing dual citizenship as if there is a contestation on whether Ugandans can hold dual citizenship, it is as if there is something wrong with the law. There is nothing wrong with the law. it was passed
Well, the thing
properly.
is, we're not just
Yeah.
discussing that, because we have to discuss this issue holistically. I think what we need to question as we discuss this issue is whether Ugandans who hold dual citizenship, which is also allowed within the constitution of our country, can serve in positions that make significant policy changes. Because if you just
the law
want
as it
Uganda,
is, eh?
here's the thing:
the law
if
as
you
it
just
is.
want Ugandans, I mean, if the law stipulates that global Ugandans can only serve in certain areas of society, but not in sections that actually can impact people's lives, then we are sort of excluding global Ugandans from fully participating. Because I guess here what we need to interrogate is what are the what services do you do? What do Ugandans in the diaspora, or what privileges do citizens have? Right? If someone is regarded as dual citizen, they should have the same privileges as Ugandans who have never traveled anywhere.
No, but Henry, you're actually answering yourself. There is no way you can say that a dual citizen should enjoy the same privileges like a person who holds the single citizenship of Uganda. That cannot be. It's unfair, even if you follow natural justice. You see, let me give you an example. These fellows are dual citizens. For example, there are three people: Calvin Echodu, Shatsi Kutesa Musherure, and Adonia Ayebare. They are American citizens, but they are also Ugandan citizens. Now, if there is a problem in Uganda today, if there is unrest, as the Americans have put it in their latest travel advisory, what will happen is America will evacuate these people as part of American citizens in your countries. Do I have that privilege? I don't have it. So they have something that I don't have. So why do you think I shouldn't have something that they can't have? You see, I should be able to be minister and they shouldn't be. Why? Because my loyalty is with one country. Their loyalty is with two countries. In cases of trouble, they can be taken care of. Other Ugandans will not be taken care of. Are you getting me? So the choices, like we say, choices have consequences. It was actually Johnny Carson, who was working for the State Department but handling issues of Africa, who said choices have consequences when telling Kenyans. So choices have consequences. Let me give you an example. If you made a choice to become a
I would like to make a contribution.
Just a moment, Dr. Imbara. Dr. Imbara, just a moment. I'll call you in. I have to call in Dr. Stella in this conversation as well. But before you finish with Mr. Gessa, let me give you an example of the Canadian Prime Minister. The Canadian Prime Minister, before he was sworn in as Prime Minister of Canada, he held 3 different citizenships. He held his parent citizenship, which is Irish, because they are from Ireland originally. He also held his wife's citizenship, which is British. So he held a British passport, and that also helped him work as governor of Bank of England when he was also still Canadian, holding the Canadian citizenship.
But you're forgetting that Canada, who is the head of state in Canada?
Prime Minister.
That's another thing you're forgetting.
The Prime Minister.
No. Prime Minister is not head of state. The head of state in Canada is the Crown in the UK. Yeah?
The Governor General. The Governor General who is elected by the Prime Minister. Yeah, it's the Governor General who is elected by the Prime Minister. But my point is that Prime Minister Kani just gave up 2 citizenships recently when he was being sworn in as Prime Minister of Canada. But that means potentially means that when his duties are done as Prime Minister of Canada, he could reacquire his other citizenships, the citizenship of Britain, as well as the citizenship of Ireland. Right? So I guess instead of us interrogating the issue of dual citizenship or triple citizenship, why don't we interrogate the issue of royalty, dual royalty? Because me giving up the citizenship of Canada does not mean that I've given up the the royalty to Canada. But let me invite Dr. Stella to share his thoughts.
No,
about
the issue is, okay, finally, my final submission is that the issue here is that the law is blind. Don't run away from the law being blind. The law is blind. So let's read the law as is.
Yeah.
We can now
and that's why we're having these conversations, because what we are doing is we're not just interrogating these issues, we are also trying to open eyes for the legislators. How do they think about, when they think about the 38 bills that they're going to pass as indicated in the State of the Nation, what other legislations can they think about either modifying or recreating? But Dr. Stella, your thoughts about this issue. You're now you now live in Germany. If everything goes as planned, you could potentially become a German citizen. But yet we could also need you to serve us in Uganda. What happens if you're appointed as Minister of Education in the future and you hold dual citizenship? Do you think Dr. Muganga is being, Dr. Muganga and the other three, as indicated by Egesa, do you think they lack integrity? Do you think this issue is being handled correctly? What are your thoughts about this issue?
Right, so I have a few thoughts. Just to say very quickly that my citizenship is not at question, and I will not go into it. I live in Germany as an exile right now, and I'm a Ugandan citizen. And in terms of the issues for me, because I've been following the conversation, I think one is right. I mean, Egesa has rightly talked about integrity, but I think that there's a question of the law. And in Uganda, our constitution outlaws, it prohibits, it does not allow a person who's a dual citizen to hold ministerial office, to be president, to be vice president, to be speaker, etc. There are a number of offices that have been specifically, there are prohibitions against those. And our law is very clear. One of the things I was sort of struck by when Dr. Himbara was speaking is how he compares the law in Uganda to the law in Rwanda. And I think for a minute I was dumbstruck that there's a person who actually appreciates some value to our systems, even when we Ugandans who have been crucified by them really criticize and condemn them. So it's sort of a slap to realize we are not as dire as Rwanda is, even though it's bad in Uganda. The law in Canada and the law in Rwanda and the law in Uganda are different laws. Our constitution must be respected. For those of us who've been calling a return to constitutionalism in the country, even amidst a lot of lawlessness, we must insist that the Ugandan law is upheld.
Right.
It is illegal. You will not be a minister and also have dual citizenship. There are procedures to give up one and retain the others, which, as far as I'm concerned, I haven't seen any proof from any of the named people, even the ones who may have potentially been vetted right, and their names have been given to Dictator Museveni to approve as ministers. I have not seen a negation of their alternative citizenships. There's no proof of that from all of the people on the list, whether it's Shatsi or Calvin or even Adonia. We have heard about people beginning applications to withdraw their second citizenships, but we have not seen proof, right? And I think in terms of the procedural failure, it's a failure, complete failure. If I wanted to be part of the vetting, I would say, show me proof that you don't have another citizenship, not proof that you're in the process of beginning to apply for an alternative citizenship. And I think a number of commentators, including Egesa, have made this point. So the first one for me was the integrity question. The second is the law in Uganda has to be upheld. What does our law say? I had hoped that Isaac Semakade would be here to elaborately talk about the law. Thirdly, these procedures are in place. It's very easy. Don't be lazy. If the ministerial position is taken seriously, and if in fact Dictator Yoweri Museveni wanted to go through the processes that are provided for, instead of just taking a vetting by an impotent, castrated parliament, he should ask for the proof. Show me that they gave up these alternative citizenships and they are Ugandan, and then that would qualify them to perhaps still be considered for the ministerial positions, all of them, including Kutesa's daughter, because Kutesa is a family friend to the Museveni, maybe relative to the Musevenis, right? So Kutesa's daughter, who is Museveni's niece, must also prove. Adonia. An in-law, right? So family, marital, in-laws, friendships, this question about family role is one of the problems that are hampering and hindering Uganda exercising any semblance of democracy or rule of law. And so away from that, I think for me, the last point is about Dr. Lawrence Muganga. I think his problem is not just that he's a dual citizen. There are also questions around, a third. So maybe he's Ugandan, maybe he's Rwandese, maybe he is Burundian, maybe he's Canadian.
And maybe if I could give you information, Dr. Nyanzi, Ugandan law as it is, the moment you bring in a third citizenship, you automatically lose Ugandan citizenship. So he's actually not Ugandan.
So in terms of that question goes back to the law in Uganda, right?
Yeah.
Can a Ugandan have more than two? Are they still legally Ugandan? And very simple answer for me to that is no. If he's both Rwandese and Ugandan and Burundian and Canadian without having negated or given up any of them, he ceases to be a Ugandan according to our constitution. He can be a Ugandan otherwise. Right. I have seen him going to his parents' grave and crying, and there's a whole performance about cultural sensitivities and ancestral, he's provoking the ancestors to prove his nationality, his descent. None of those are in question. We are not questioning whether his parents are buried in Mukono. We're not questioning whether his parents are Banyarwanda as an ethnic group. There are discussions in Uganda about Abavandimwe, fronted by people such as Frank Kashumba and many others. There are debates within the Banyarwanda ethnic group who are Ugandans as well about the meaning of the Muganga issue. The issue of ethnicity is not in question. The issue of nationality is not in question. It's a very simple question about citizenship, which is legislated by law. There are processes that could make Muganga, if he was really a serious minister, if he was interested in the ministerial position, there's a very easy process. Give up these alternatives. And maybe the last point I want to hone in is his previous record of criminalization.
Right.
We have seen him being fronted in our media. At Victoria University, there was that time when joint forces of the police, the UPDF, and God knows what other forces stormed into Victoria University. Okay, there's a criminalization process that happened, and we don't know the resolution of that process. Was he prosecuted? What were the charges? What were the issues? What happened to that case? I don't know the other issues around penalization, criminalization, engaging with the judiciary in Rwanda, in Canada, in Burundi, in Uganda. I don't want to know. But we know that in Uganda, there are prohibitions for anyone to be appointed as a minister if they have a previous record. And that calls to question some of the other appointees, right from our vice president.
Right.
Who had a criminal record, right? But again, for me, as a person interested in systems, as a person interested in questioning those that hold power, I think that Dr. Muganga's case is a special case because it raises some important questions, not just to us. If indeed Dictator Yoweri Museveni has a plan for the 50-year-old dynasty of the Bachwezi, what role is Dr. Muganga supposed to play? Why was David Muhoozi, former Minister of Internal Affairs, why is Muganga coming in his place? And if it is the very office, I mean, it's ironical that the office which he is coming to represent Minister of Internal Affairs is the very same office that deals with issues of citizenship, under which he's being vetted and found wanting. How can a person whose citizenship is dubious become the minister in charge of internal affairs, in charge of citizenship affairs?
These are good questions.
You have to be slow to yield, and I think continue putting on the pressure. Even Museveni must feel the pressure, even after the vetting committee in parliament pretend to have done their job. They're just whitewashing a process. They're just whitewashing Museveni's choice. They're just whitewashing a relationship between PLU member Muganga, Muhoozi's reinstatement in power as some form of head, the transition, and a bastardization of our parliament. Thank you very much, Henry.
These are very, very, very good insights. And let me...
I presented more organized papers, more evidence.
Sorry, I want us to listen to Dr. Muganga.
I want to give a bit, say something about Muganga, please.
Yeah, I'm going to give you an opportunity to speak, but I want you to listen to this, because this is in regard to his... we know that he has a diplomatic passport. We don't know how he attained that, but this is what he says about it.
And everyone else, like actually, if you ask every member of parliament who sits on that very committee, if I have to quote some of them, they said, I am the most organized, qualified, who brought organized documents, high quality documents to the committee. If you disagree with me, please ask the leader of opposition, Honorable Joel Senyonyi. I am an appointed person coming from the NRM side, but the leader of opposition said those words. So how come now people have the audacity to say that he didn't submit enough what? Papers. That is wrong. It is not right. I am a very credible person, very competent person. I know what a presentation looks like and what it means. And when it comes to presentation, you can ask every member who was seated there. One member of, I think, a member of parliament from Entebbe municipality. I don't know the names. Shaka. He put up his hand and said, Dr. Muganga has given us a wonderful presentation. He has articulated his contribution to this country. He has clarified and articulated his Ugandan-ness. I now move a motion that we vote immediately. 4 or 6 members seconded him in that very committee. And that is when the deputy speaker pulled out a document. And he told the speaker that I still have other questions. And then he asked all his questions. He did not circulate that report to members. They didn't have it. You are all journalists. You can talk to them one by one. I am sure they are honest Ugandans. They will tell the truth. And then he really, actually, it was an interrogation. A yes or no session. All members were excited and happy to vote for me. And then he came up, he started towing the line of me being a Rwandan, me being a foreigner, me being a person who has 3 passports. And like I said, I don't have those passports. And I've never had them. And then he did not stop there. I kept asking him, Right Honourable Deputy Speaker, can I have an opportunity to respond? He said, no, don't worry, I'll give you time to respond, I want to share with all of you that he denied me the opportunity to do what? To explain. And then the speaker said, now is the time we excuse the member. And they led me out of the committee. So we don't have to really discriminate each other. We are all created by one God, and we serve one country, and that is Uganda. I am a very, very competent person. If they sent you to bring competent people in this country, I think I can feature in the top 100. So we need to be given an opportunity to serve our country. But I also know that our president is a man who is fair. He is a man who does not cherish borders. He's a Pan-Africanist. I think he cannot tolerate discrimination.
Of course, that's from NBS. It seems to frame the conversation as a tribal or discrimination question. I don't think that is the conversation is about that. But Dr. Mbara, I wanted to share something about Dr. Muganga.
Yeah. Oh my goodness, listening to that, how do you say I am competent and I would be among the 200
Oh.
in Uganda? How do you say that?
Well, there's 46 million Ugandans. 100 on stage.
Lord have mercy. I think that line alone just showed you who this man is. Anyhow, talk about being modest. I know Muganga very, very well. Very, very well.
You wrote an article about him.
Yes.
Yeah.
So when I was in Rwanda and I was the chairman of the Human and Institutional Development Agency, and Muganga worked for the same institution, having come from Rwanda Revenue Authority initially. Then he said that he's read my books, and he'd very, very happy and privileged if I could mentor him. I said, indeed, with all, I'm at your mercy. Whatever you need, I'll help you to mentor you in your vision of being a better version of yourself. I'm right here. So fast forward, I fled Rwanda and went back to Canada. So 5 years later, who calls me? Lawrence Muganga. Muganga tells me that he's now in Canada and had was admitted as a refugee, and he was applying for permanent permanent residence status, so that he can pursue his educational dreams. So he becomes a permanent resident, eventually a citizen, pursues his degree, and during that, during his studies, I continued mentoring him. I assisted him during his studies. I lived in Toronto. He lived in Alberta, Edmonton, Alberta. That is, Canada is a huge country. That's like a 3-hour flight from where I am. So I would go there to Alberta, and he would come here in Toronto as I steered him towards writing his dissertation, PhD dissertation. By then, anyway, not to make this long story, then one day Muganga calls me. He says, Himbara, I have some shocking news for you. I said, go ahead. He says that the defense attaché in the embassy of Rwanda, in Canada and the US, General Vincent Nyakarundi, has recruited him as part of the machine to silence me and the likes of me who write negative stories about the strong man of Rwanda, General Kagame. He says, Himbara, you are in danger. Strengthen your defense forces around yourself. He says that in fact it's so urgent that he would like us to meet face to face and talk about this. No, I said, Muganga, you just said you are already part of this scheme, so I think it's inappropriate for us to meet. Since you are, you say you are a member. However, if you have any decency, you would go to the police out there in Edmonton and report this thing. This is extremely dangerous. So will you do this for me? Will you go and report to the police? Because you see, if you go and report to police there, then I can also report the same thing here to the police in Toronto, and even involve the federal police. Muganga told me that he would do it, but I have no evidence that he ever did. By the way, I was subsequently poisoned. I survived a stroke. In Canada, I live like a prisoner, running away, running from one address to another address, especially when I suspect that they have found they found where I live. The Kagame machine. Occasionally, they find me and photograph me and put these pictures on the internet. I think I shared one with Henry.
Yeah.
Where they write, they found me walking with a bag in my hands from a shopping center. I was, it says, Himbara dead man walking. Anyway, moving forward, then one day, I received a call from Muganga's wife in Edmonton. I think he left his family behind to tell me that Muganga had moved to Uganda and that he was arrested. He says, "Can you please publish something about what he did for you?" I said, "Oh my God." I did publish something. I published a blog, and in that blog I said that Muganga revealed to me that I had danger coming my way from Rwanda. So maybe this shows that he wouldn't be spying from the same government, from the Rwanda government. But of course, when I was writing that, I knew deep in me that we know that even during the Germany, there are some Nazi officials who saved Jews. But that does not negate that they were not part of the killing machine anyhow.
Right.
So I packed that. I wrote that for him. It says maybe Uganda has made a mistake. This man revealed to me that he was the one who was posing a threat to me. La 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 la. So I forget all about that. Then I hear that he was freed and was not tried. Then now comes the recent development where is appointed, or rather nominated as Minister for Internal Affairs. This led me now to really wonder about Muganga. How does the same government that just arrested him, that arrested him, appoint him as minister, or rather nominate him as Minister of Internal Affairs, in charge of the portfolio that he broke? I then wrote another piece. In this piece, I wrote that, look, I think the leaders of Rwanda and the leaders of Uganda, all the people of Uganda and the people of Rwanda, an explanation. What is it about this man? What do they see, what value they see in this man?
Right.
That we don't see. How is it that he was affiliated with the defense attaché of the government of Rwanda, goes to Uganda and become arrested and then is freed, and then nominated as a minister, and said, no, there is something that does not makes sense here.
Yeah.
And those government, the leaders know something that they're not sharing. Thank you guys for listening to me.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ibarra, for that submission. It is also known, according to the leaked documents, that he holds a diplomatic Ugandan passport. He says that it was given to him by the president of Uganda. So, as we delve into interrogating the state of the nation, I guess Dr. Egesa to be. Your thoughts about what Dr. Ibarra has said, but also your thoughts about the state of the nation as we interrogate um, President Museveni's vision for the next 5 years and beyond.
Okay, you see, when Professor Imbara was submitting, I think he was giving now flesh to the questions raised by Dr. Stella Nyanzi on the character of Dr. Muganga. What is his record like? Does his record make him a proper fit for a position that is as sensitive as that of Minister of State for Internal Affairs? For all intents and purposes, he would actually be the substantive minister. You just forget about that state there, because the other person that is occupying the substantive position of Minister of State, the one that has been nominated, Professor Ephraim Kamuntu, and I think is well over 75 years. And if I'm going to use the wisdom of President Yoweri Museveni, that when you're above 75, you don't have the vigor. He himself referred to scientists when he appeared on Patrick Kamara's interview on the spot. He said scientists say that after the age of 75, you do not have the vigor and the energy to perform at the same level that you performed when you are a little bit younger. So as we have seen with the case of Kahindo Tafire, the outgoing minister for local government, he was only minister. So the outgoing minister for internal affairs. He was only minister for internal affairs in name, but the ministry was run by David Mohozi, General David Mohozi, who was Minister of State. Yeah, the Kahindo Tafire only would occupy the office and then do his business deals. And then he enjoys, of course, state protection and other privileges that accrue to the office. So I don't see that arrangement changing if we have Parliament approving Professor Ephraim Kamuntu, who was a minister before I was born.
Wow. And
now I have an open roof on my head.
Right.
So you can imagine. So Professor Ephraim Kamuntu would relinquish the powers to the state minister, who would have been an understudy, but then would end up being the de facto or substantive minister of Interior. So if the character of Dr. Muganga is shady, for lack of a better word, then that would actually concern us, like Professor Imbara has said, the people of Uganda and the people of Rwanda. And I think I should add the people of Canada, because he's also a Canadian.
Right.
It's to know what is it with this gentleman? What is it? What is so special? How is he playing the systems in Uganda and Rwanda? What is it? Is he a double or triple agent of sorts? Yeah. So, but for me, my view is that now I'm getting conflicting messages. I got a message, a notification on my phone saying that these fellows, some of the other three were going to be sworn in. Then I've seen another message online saying that they are not going to be sworn in. So we wait to see, because the swearing in function starts tomorrow. I think it might conclude the day after tomorrow in State House. But the question of integrity, I think I already punched holes in his integrity, just like I punched holes in the integrity of the other three. So for me, the moment you fail on that integrity question on the issue of whether you can interpret a basic law, then we do not even proceed with the vetting process. For me, that is the preliminary. So we cannot proceed now to begin interrogating your education, your academic record, your work experience, and your suitability for office. So this could be a preliminary where I think they failed the integrity test. So we couldn't proceed. Then now you have also asked me to talk about the SONA that we had in this week that just ended. There are like three issues that I want to talk about, which came out in that State of the Nation. One, that President Yoweri Museveni, either intentionally or unintentionally, refuses to understand what he's supposed to say in the State of the Nation and chooses to use it as another opportunity to patronize Ugandans and speak in a condescending manner. That is the first one. My understanding of what the State of the Nation should have been, especially that one delivered at the opening of a session of Parliament, is supposed to be a balance sheet with reference to the budget that was read at the start of the financial year that we are about to conclude. Yeah?
Yeah.
So it ought to be a balance sheet of sorts. So he should have been using the base year for all his statistics. The base should have been what was it by the time we started this financial year. Because a week later, he is supposed to return to Parliament and present the national budget. So when he returns to Parliament to present the national budget, he will be giving us a forecast for the next financial year. But you cannot give us a forecast for the next financial year if we have not had a proper balance sheet accountability for the financial year that we are, closing. So he always keeps on, moving away from the current, from the current situation obtaining in the country. He starts talking about in 1966, in 1986, blah, 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 blah. So, I mean, that's why in one of the talk shows recently, I said that he must have read this book by, I've just forgotten the author, on how to lie with statistics. Yeah. So he keeps throwing in numbers in there. But, the numbers, he does not throw in numbers such that they make comparative sense. He just throws in, because if you start saying that we have this number of kilometers of road today, and this is what we had in 1986, you are giving us accountability for a 40-year reign, but you're not giving us accountability for the last 1 year. And yet, you have been claiming that you come back to the Ugandan citizen to seek a fresh mandate after every 5 years, which could, if he continues to do that, it could be an admission that the purported seeking of renewal of mandate is a facade, like some of us have been saying. That it actually, he actually knows that he's operating some kind of a monarchy, so he doesn't need to keep on, going through transparent elections. So he keeps on just running us through a military exercise where he crowns himself. It's basically a renewal of coronation. He goes through a coronation anniversary after every 5 years or so. So for me, that's the first thing. Now, the second thing is that it demonstrated also that the president is just talking. And as we know, talk is cheap. He is not willing to walk the talk. Yeah. So he comes and says a Muluka chief, that's a parish chief, should not be riding a motorcycle in a boda economy where boda has changed meaning from motorbikes to from bicycles to motorbikes. Boda comes from my village, my district. The word boda originates from there. They used to
Really?
be bicycles. These guys used to put on
Yeah.
pink uniforms, pink shirts.
Yeah.
They used to ride bicycles, and they would say, "Are you going to the border? Border, border, border." Calling people who are going to the border to cross
Okay.
over to Kenya. That is the
Right.
original border. And then they advanced to motorcycles and all that. So now he says that in a border economy, where even in the remotest area in Uganda, you have youth who have resorted to riding these motorcycle taxis called borders, that a parish chief should be riding a bicycle. Granted, that could be part of what you would call austerity measures in the coming financial year. But then he is not telling us what is going to happen to the exorbitant expenditure by the presidency.
Right.
The presidency in Uganda, okay, State House in particular, spends upwards of 2.5 billion shillings every day.
It's a lot of money.
If you just get the State House budget before any supplementary is brought in, divide it by the number of days in a year, you will come to what we are talking about. So he's not showing us how he's going to lead by example to have State House and the presidency in general to reduce expenditure. And also, it is very funny. The budget they are going to read this week, that is just starting, has some of the amounts. For example, when they are saying that they are going to take out expenditure on public holidays, some of these monies have already been passed in this budget in Parliament. So they are not telling us where is this money going to go. You see? Yeah, so they are just, how do you come up with austerity measures at the tail end of the financial year when the budgeting process already concluded in Parliament? These guys are just gaslighting Ugandans. They are not being honest.
Yeah,
The
let us hear
budgeting
from
process was complete by April. By April this year, they were concluding the budgeting process. Now they should have told us about the austerity measures they intend to take then. After all, by that time, the president knew that he's warming up for a fresh mandate, quote unquote. So it's not that he didn't know he's going to be governing Uganda after May 2026. So I think that's the other thing. He's not ready to walk the talk.
Even if you had known that he was not going to govern, like systematically, we should know the parliament should tell us that this is the amount of money that are going to be used to govern the country, whether it's with Mr. Museveni or any other candidate who would have.
And in fact, the technocrats have remained in office. Dr. Ramadan Gobi still remains in office. So he should have told us. So which means even Ramadan Gobi seems not to be doing his job, and it is being, he's being remote controlled by Yoweri Museveni from State House. So I think we keep complaining that we're a banana republic, but the people entrusted with the power are the people who actually make us a banana republic. And finally, on that issue of state of the nation, he emphasized term no sleep, where he says there's going to be an enhanced fight against corruption. This is also another way of gaslighting Ugandans. Two things. One, in what you call term no sleep, the much hyped anti-corruption fight, the term no more sleep. We started this with the much hyped anti-corruption fight, which had them go and raid the homes, the properties of the former speaker Anita Mong.
Yeah.
But then the next we saw was the president has directed the IGG to investigate something that is unconstitutional. Then the next we are seeing in a government newspaper that the president has received a report from the IGG about the investigations, meaning this is not an anti-corruption investigation. It simply means that this is an investigation that is of a political nature. It is just a misnomer to call it an anti-corruption investigation. So this is a political fixing exercise. So they were fixing Anita Mong politically. So right from the start, I cannot take the president serious about fighting corruption when he has started on the wrong footing. He has started by closing political fixing exercise as an anti-corruption fight. He has started by going against the constitution by interfering in the work of the Inspector General of Government by directing the activities, the actions of the Inspector General of Government. For the record, the Inspector General of Government and even the Inspector General of Police, when it comes to issues with investigations on corruption and the rest, is not supposed to be directed by any persons in Uganda. They are supposed to act in the interest of the Ugandan public, the Ugandan citizen. So there is no way you can say this is a term no more sleep where you expect a fight against corruption when they have started on the wrong footing. So finally, the second thing which shows you that this term no more sleep is a hoax, is the parliament itself where he was speaking from, the forum which he used to declare term no more sleep, is already sleeping on the job. They have already shown you that they cannot even interpret basic law. They cannot interpret basic law, which says if someone holds dual citizenship, they cannot be minister. They have started saying some people can go through the window to join cabinet, another one should be rejected. So they are stammering when it comes to interpreting basic law. So he was speaking term no more sleep in a forum where the people that he was speaking to were already asleep. They're sleeping on the jobs. So for
Dr. Stella.
that is it.
Dr. Stella, there's a lot you have to respond to. First, your thoughts about Dr. Imbara's suggestion that the two presidents, one of Rwanda, of the Republic of Rwanda, and one of the Republic of Uganda, might know something about Dr. Imbara. That's why they keep bringing him close to themselves in one way or another. We know that he has a diplomatic passport, which was approved by the president of Uganda, according to his own confession as well. But also your thoughts about the overall characterization of Dr. Imbara by characterization of Dr. Muganga. Dr. Muganga by Dr. Imbara. And then your thoughts about, I guess, as thoughts about the state of the nation. I don't know if you followed the state of the nation, but yeah, your thoughts about where Uganda is heading in the next 5 years.
Right. So, I think I appreciate getting the first-hand experience narrative from Professor Himbara on his own experiences with Dr. Muganga. I suppose what one can go on and speculate, right? But in a few days, 2 weeks, by the end of this month, we shall know. We shall know the outcome. Yeah. I think for me that questions are raised about what Yoweri Museveni is playing. What game is he playing? If indeed he was aware that Dr. Muganga has these alternative passports and citizenship statuses, what is this about? Is it trying? If indeed he is, he receives a report from the vetting committee of Parliament, and then he acts in whichever way he acts, then one would know he wanted to, flaunt his authority and show that he's above due process, he's above vetting committees, which is what we know. I think for me, in terms of the Dr. Muganga situation and how much it has been put center, it's been really centered, even much more than the others with dual citizenship, multiple citizenship. One has to sort of be careful what the main agenda is. There must be an agenda. Museveni has always had agendas. So I think for me, as a person who doesn't believe in his governance style, we just have to watch and see. I'm very weary that anything good will come out of this. I want to turn to the SONA. Actually, before I do, I think for me that anyone with dual citizenship who didn't produce evidence of renouncing, thanks to, I guess I got the proper word, renouncing all the other citizenships does not qualify to be minister. And if our parliament has power to influence decisions by the head of state, then we shall not see them swearing in as ministers, all of them, unless they produce evidence. And I think some people have suggested it's possible to postpone the swearing in ceremony. There's no rush, there's no haste. We can do it, whenever. They can be given time to do the actual swearing. And after all, the ministerial functions are mainly played by one person and his family. We know who the real kitchen cabinet is. These other people are just sitting ducks, So there's no rush. But if indeed our law is respected, our vetting institution still has power and authority to vet, and if the executive takes the role of parliament seriously, there will be no swearing in of any of them. That's my position. So in terms of State of the Nation address, I did not listen in to everything, but I slowly read the Twitter version that was posted by the dictator on his X handle. And I think for me, I quickly skimmed through it because you indicated we'll be talking about SONA. So it would be good if one knows what topics you're prepared to talk about during the State of the Nation address next time, because then I would have prepared better. But I think for me that the constitutional justification for the State of the Nation address is twofold. One, to do an evaluation of the financial year's achievements, that, what have we achieved in terms of development, transformation, economics, and all of that. And the other is to lay a legislative agenda, those twofold points. And I think that Speaker Oboth mentioned them when he was inviting the president to come and address the nation. In terms of what was missing greatly for me is the legislative agenda for the next term. I didn't hear any articulation. What are they?
Other than saying that there's 38 bills that are going to be, I think, implemented in the next legislative assembly, debated. There's no we don't know what the specifics are for those 38 legislations. At least we haven't seen them. They were not directly indicated in SONA. But I think that's true, that was missing.
Largely missing for me. I had a lot of the economic transformations. I read quickly. There's a real concentration on oil, on figures, as I guess I said, on all of this. But to be honest, I did not sit in and listen to him as one should have done if I was going to address the topic. So maybe I'll just move on. Maybe one thing for me is the first 15 minutes I listened to Museveni speaking before beginning this particular.
You muted yourself. You have muted yourself. You have muted yourself.
Sorry. Yes, I muted myself accidentally. But I was saying that Museveni is a good grandfather who tells stories, like all grandfathers should. He sings a nice lullaby. He had all these figures and 1966 and Kashokosho, and I don't know who. He talked about his comrades. He had, I don't know, $3 or $5. Was it $5? He converts for us, and he tells the stories. And I think for me, if I were a genie who had power to make things happen, if I were God, I would retire Museveni, give him a pen, give him a podcast to tell stories and write storybooks about the journey up to now, but ensure that maybe he played a role, storytelling to advise transition and regime change, but I would not retain him in power. And I think the last thing I wanted to say was just about the sloganeering. Again, Mukolo, I guess I talked very well about it, no more sleep, corruption, okukongola, kugumaza, kuzia, kutuhende, like he had so many of these. And I think, yeah, Museveni is good for the narrative. But in terms of handing states, handing power and authority to parliament, to our organs of state to do anything for the next 5 years, I don't see him doing that. There'll be more stories. I mean, I read the one about Gawaya Tegule. So he's aware of the feedback that we give him. He reads what his critics write. He probably hears, he listens, but is not willing to share the next legislative agenda with us, because he is the legislature. Although Professor Himbara said Kagame is the law, I think likewise in Uganda, Museveni is becoming the law increasingly. That's why his sort of national address is really about his stories, his gains, his wins, and there isn't really directions that are clear for either parliament or those of us who would have wanted to see what it was about. So that's my incoherent speech or input into the discussion of the state of the national address, but I didn't listen to him. Didn't.
Well, thank you so much for sharing all this stuff. Egesa, as we conclude, your concluding remarks about all the three stories that we have had or discussed this afternoon, this evening, this tonight, vetting processes, citizenship, and of course, the vision for the next 5 years as derived from the SONA. Your remarks, your concluding remarks.
The one, the vetting process, I didn't actually talk about the vetting process in my initial submission as a separate subject, but I think if you allow me a minute or two, maybe I could comment about it. I don't really think Parliament does any vetting there. Yeah, because I think the vetting is supposed to be an extra layer of scrutiny, that if somebody managed to sneak through the initial layers, take for example those members that are already members of Parliament, if they manage to sneak through or they manipulated the processes at the National Council for Higher Education, at UNEB, at the Electoral Commission, and they got elected as members of Parliament, then the vetting should actually be able to arrest the situation on issues such as academic qualifications. And in fact, this is not without precedent. In 2016, when James Kakoza, who was then member of Parliament representing the people of Kabula County, he was already a member of Parliament, but he was disqualified from taking up his role as minister on questions of academic qualification. A similar thing happened to Muyanja Mbabari, who was already a sitting member of Parliament for Bukoto, I think Bukoto South. Yeah. So you can see that unless, of course, I'm privy to some of the reasons why these guys were eliminated, but still the grounds given were they held some water. Yeah. So that is what vetting should be about. Now, you cannot tell me that in 2 days, where you're working for 12 hours a day at most, you have been able to scrutinize and verify the authenticity of academic documents of 82 people. Okay, 80 minus the first lady. Okay, 80 or 81. Yeah, of 81 people, a committee of 39 people. They have not told us that they had a technology link linking them to UNEB, National Council for Higher Education, or universities for them to be able to verify some of these academic documents, for instance. They have not told us that they gave these guys time to submit these documents beforehand. Yeah. The other thing, they cannot even, you see, even when in the corporate world, when we are going through onboarding of new staff members, the vetting exercise doesn't happen in 48 hours. It doesn't. You do executive background check you write back to the people that the person has, to the organizations or the companies that the person has indicated that they are former employers. You write to them and then get confidential references from these people, confidential reports. Yeah, even the people listed as referees, you write to them and get a confidential report or reference from these people. So the exercise usually takes about a month or so. So what we have under the law and what Parliament has created for rules in their rules of procedure, what they have provided for as vetting, is just a cosmetic exercise. It is a ritual for them to, you know, to just clear people that have been presented, and then maybe the few unlucky guys, like Muganga was claiming, if you become the black sheep for the day, then you are thrown out. Or if you have bad PR, then you get thrown out. But there's no actual vetting exercise. Then also, there are people who have been perennial members of cabinet. The vetting exercise should look at their performance record. Yeah, I was on a panel, a different panel with a member of the vetting committee, who is also a young person, but of course much younger than myself. So she said, "How do I start vetting Kahindo Tafire?" And I'm like, "What are you talking about? You should be able to ask Kahindo Tafire to show you what for the years he has been in cabinet. What does he got to show? How transformative has his leadership been? What has he contributed to the strategic leadership of Uganda?" You know, for me, I cannot be in that vetting committee and then you come and walk away scot-free if I was, you know, giving leadership in that committee. So there is no interrogation of the track record of these people. There is, you know, even the basic things like, you know, verification of documents is not happening. So what kind of vetting is taking place there? So I can confidently tell you that other than being a ritual and an exercise in posturing, like you've seen, they come and say, okay, we have thrown out this one. Then the other one showed us an email that they have started the process of renunciation. Then they tell you we have asked the first lady to not to appear in person, blah, 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 blah. Posturing, playing to the gallery. There is no actual vetting taking place in that committee. That would be my humble submission on the question of vetting. Now, my final thoughts on the issue of citizenship, I think I will just reiterate what I have stated, and I think also has been stated here by Dr. Nyanzi. It is the issue of following the law. Let us promote a culture of following our laws, however bad they are. And if we feel they are bad, then let's go back and start the process of amending them and improving them to make them fit for purpose and commensurate with the times. Okay, so let's own that culture, and then also let us encourage people, especially academics and people who have traveled and got exposure. Let us encourage them to be people of integrity. Have the you know, the humility to say, I have been nominated for this position, but I don't qualify. You can tell off the appointing authority. At one point, Tom Butime was given a position as Minister for Karamoja, and he said, Your Excellency, with all due respect, I have nothing to contribute there. Yeah? And people thought that he had committed a sacrilegious sin. But as night follows day, President Yoweri Museveni returned him to cabinet after some time. Even Museveni respects people of principle. When Jennifer Musisi found that she was now being sacrificed at the political altar of President Museveni, she threw in the towel. She wrote a resignation, gave a notice, and went away. She did not wait for a response. She moved on. We should encourage people who have gone to school, people who are educated like Dr. Muganga, to be people of integrity. How will young children who are in university in first year be inspired if they cannot use people who are educated as role models? We should actually stop making our country banana republic or a shithole country, a shithole republic like Donald Trump calls it. So that is it. Then finally, on the state of the nation, I think the team that helps President Museveni to prepare the speeches when he's coming, they should always, first of all, do proper preparations and find out what is the intention of this speech, what is the audience, what what were the intentions of the framers of the Constitution when they provided for this occasion, and then help him to put that speech in the proper context. Those are my 2 cents, sir. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Egesa, for those final remarks. Dr. Imbara, your final remarks regarding all the 3 issues that we have discussed. So the vetting issue, the citizenship issue, and of course, I don't know if you listened to the State of the Nation, but yeah, your final remarks based on the conversation we have had in the last couple of hours. Oh, you're muted. Just a moment. Yeah.
Yeah, I can't help.
We hear you now. We hear you.
Yes, I can't help but laugh when, you know, look, comparing the two, listening to even this discussion and the matters you're talking about. To us in Rwanda, you sound like a very advanced democratic society. Because see, for us, we'll be talking about who is the latest in prison, who disappeared, who went in exile, who died. So struggle on with your democracy, whatever the state is in. Press ahead. Remain strong in your principles as fighters of and defenders of democracy and human rights. I was really honored today by being in the same panel as Stella. I followed your struggles. I followed your battles. Sister, press on. All the dictators, one way or another, come to an end. So let's remain upbeat about the future of our countries. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Imbara. Dr. Stella, your final remarks.
Right. Thank you very much. I want to thank Professor Himbara for the encouragement, but also for the lessons he brought from Rwanda and Canada, and the sharing his personal experiences. I think they enriched our conversation, hearing what a comrade from another, he's Canadian, Canadian, but I think it enriched the conversation very much. And I want to thank you, Henry, for bringing him on board. And when someone says, I see you, it matters a lot for those of us who are in exile. So from another exile to another, I see you as well. And when you talk about having to change addresses, I am not yet there, and I hope we don't get there. So your advice to us in Uganda to continue struggling is important. We must continue doing the work, particularly for comrades such as who are still at home. Many of the others who are advertised today, incidentally, are either in diaspora or exile, whether it's Isaac Semakade, who wasn't able to join us, or myself. In terms of my concluding remarks, I think for me that we've covered some ground. What I celebrate the most is that we are still speaking out. We are still speaking. We're still questioning. And we shouldn't lose our voices, especially those of us who are critical, whether we're in the country or not. We shouldn't allow them to stop us thinking about these things, because they want us to think. They want the small corpus of military intelligentsia to think for us, to propagate their agendas. And I think questioning the vetting process is, when we do that, when we set aside Henry's questions stubbornly, all of us, we set aside all your questions, Henry. This is the work we are called to do as thinkers, as critiques, as, he's a strategist. I call myself a public intellectual. He's a professor. This is the work we must continue doing. it's very costly and very thankless, addressing power and saying, vetting, hey, if you can't vet Janet Museveni, what are you doing pretending to vet? So for me, I think the questions around the vetting process, how can you vet 80 people in 2 days? That is a question not only to the people who are vetting, but to that one who accepts their vetting report. This is drama. This is drama. This is drama for the masses, and those of us who are thinkers must allow ourselves to continue pushing counter thought. In terms of the citizenship question, I believe that the law in Uganda has also deteriorated into the law of Museveni. Even when Professor Himbara said to us that, in fact, Kagame is the law, he appoints the speaker, the justice, the ministers, the same has happened to Uganda. And I think the vulgarity in Uganda is Muhoozi spoke the names. He said, let there be or both. And there he was. Let there be Tayebwa. Even the women's quota was taken away from us. I've seen women celebrating that we've attained parity. We are half and half in terms of ministerial cabinets, but we don't have leadership because Muhoozi said, let there be or both, and let there be Tayebwa. But Museveni said, let there be the Chief Justice and the Deputy Chief Justice. And I think for me, in terms of those constitutional questions, the citizenship point of the contention today raises the fact that our law is now a piece of toilet paper. It's good to clean up particular shit. Otherwise, it's invalid. It's been made invalid. And we must continue raising these questions, setting the question. The question is not about what your ancestry is. The question is, what does the Constitution say? Does the Constitution say A? Do you have A? If you have A.2, A and extras, if you have B or Z or D, it is unconstitutional. And I think the point Egesa made that the law is an ass, sadly, that is what it is. But more and more, the law is being made the dictatorship and what the dictators want. And I think on the point of the State of the National Address, we must stop swallowing wholesale, the sloganeering, the depoliticized historicizing, the throwing statistics at us that don't translate into the everyday lives of Ugandans, and we must set the important questions about bread in Uganda, about livelihoods, about people's lives, about education. What's the education sector going to be like with a dead or mentally sick or physically incapacitated minister of health? And these are everyday questions for everyday people. So I think using our privilege as thinkers, as people who have access to public spaces, to continue critiquing is important. And maybe it's our only role in this expanding pseudo-democracy that we are as a country. So thank you so much for the opportunity. I look forward to next time.
Next Sunday for sure, we shall have similar conversations. What I tend to do is try to follow the conversations that are transpiring on Uganda's ecosystem. Of course, I listen to so many different podcasts and conversations in the main media stream media. And try to come and bring them to this platform for us to continue questioning the questions and interrogating some of the interpretations that are offered within the different sectors of society. I have heard from some of the contributors of our political conversations, Munyagwa, Mr. Honorable Munyagwa, Honorable Munyagwa, says that the issue of Mr. Muganga, if not handled correctly, might catch up with other folks in the diaspora in the future, that it might be used to exclude potential presidential candidates in the future who are now living in the diaspora. So I hope that conversation can be handled in a manner that will not deter other potential candidates to participate in our country's development or country building. But essentially, today's conversation was not really about Zoom or virtual conversations. It was not only about the president's speech, neither was it about Dr. Muganga. I think the larger question today was whether Uganda's institutions can adapt to the realities of a digital, globalized, and rapidly changing world. So essentially, should Uganda fear technology or leverage it? Should Uganda fear dual citizenship or leverage it as well? The answers, of course, what we do is engage in the conversations. It's okay to always challenge some of the questions that I come up with, because that's the importance of having different minds, because we are not just discussing these things, we're also educating the public, we are educating other Ugandans who are interested in these conversations. At the time when we stopped engaging in these conversations, I received a lot of questions, inboxes on Twitter, but also on WhatsApp and in other forms of messaging. People are asking, why don't you bring back those people that used to interrogate these issues? The Dr. Nyanzis, we see them on X Space, but we need to see their faces. We need to see how they're interacting with these questions when they're answering. So that's why this year, when the protection of the protection bill was introduced, I was like, okay, we need to bring back this live interaction with the ideas, the political landscape of Uganda, obviously, and include many people, as many people as we can reach out to interrogate some of these issues. So the answers to these questions may not ultimately shape Uganda's future, far more than they can a single appointment or controversy or speech. I think the privilege we have, as Dr. Imbara has indicated, is that we can still have these conversations openly, question openly, and include other people. I want to encourage those people who are following us to continue sharing these conversations, but also to comment, because usually what I do is when you ask a question in a comment, I pose it to the panelists. Today, I didn't receive any comments, even though I have the highest number of, it seems, of followers listening in Kamoli. Then I can pose those questions to the panelists as well. So utilize your comment sections to ask questions so that you can also be included in these conversations. So once again, thank you so much for joining us. You will be called upon to continue engaging in these conversations. I want to thank my colleague Isaac Samakade, even though he was unable to join us today, but he continues to encourage me to keep these conversations going. I guess, of course, thank you so much for giving us time every time you're called upon to come and share your knowledge and discuss with the country what must be discussed. Dr. Stella, we continue to see you. We continue to celebrate you. So thank you so much also for joining us. Dr. Imbara, thank you so much for for coming and sharing your thoughts about both Uganda and Rwanda, but also globally, the Canadian experience as well. Do not be surprised if you're called upon to participate in these conversations. If there's anyone else you think that should be included in these conversations, I think every Sunday we can bring someone new. But there are some faces that you'll be seeing on a regular basis. So the Dr. Stella will probably be one of the regulars, as Egesa, as well as Semakade. Today he wasn't able to join us, but he will eventually come back and join us. And of course, Dr. Imbara might be coming now and again. So again, thank you so much for joining us. This is the State of the Nation. Very delighted to serve you in this capacity. God bless you.
This is the state of the nation. Ibifa Muganga. We are deliberate, we are reasonable, we are uncensored. The state of the nation with Henry Salu.